Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Welcome to our 140th episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me on social media. That truly does make it all worthwhile. Please make sure to follow me at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV. Of course, you can also find us directly on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. We have such an incredible show lined up for you today. In our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring Trish Barillas, a seasoned Latina life coach with over 18 years of experience. Her focus is on supporting individuals dealing with anxiety, navigating breakups, and advancing careers. She's also the author of the first ever Instabook, A Face of Anxiety, which chronicles her personal journey living with generalized anxiety disorder. She's here to chat happiness, overcoming anxiety, and the power of words and manifestation. In our Going Deep segment, we're featuring Dr. Suzanne Kilmer, founding director of Laser and Skin Surgery Medical Group. She's a clinical professor at the Department of Dermatology at the University of California, Davis School of Medicine. She joins me to chat lasers, skin rejuvenation, and the benefits of carbon dioxide therapy for the skin. In our Fintech CEO exclusive, live from the iconic New York Stock Exchange, we're featuring Armando Pantoja, a social media influencer, speaker, investor, and software engineer. He's a respected thought leader in the cryptocurrency space, and he's joined by his dear friend, Robert Croak, a financial educator and founder of the multi-million-dollar company Silly Bands. I know you've heard of them. They join me at the New York Stock Exchange to chat Bitcoin, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and we'll also get insight on their upcoming new crypto podcast. In America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by buyoptimizers.com, or chatting with the amazing Phil Cowley. He's joined by model, celebrity, real estate agent, and Instagram star Rudy Bundini. Rudy has modeled for Nike, Armani, Versace, Calvin Klein. That's just to name a few. He's been on a ton of billboards. Today, he's going to join me to chat men's health, mental wellness, and why men are costing the healthcare system 1.5 times more than us gals. In our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, you definitely are going to want to stick around. We're featuring Trish Barillas, life coach, dealing with anxiety, chatting happiness, manifestation, and overcoming your fears. Stay tuned. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, we're featuring Trish Barillas, a seasoned Latina life coach with over 18 years of experience. She focuses on supporting individuals dealing with anxiety, navigating breakups, and advancing their careers. She's also the author of the first ever Instabook, A Face of Anxiety, which chronicles her personal journey living with GAD, general anxiety disorder, and panic disorder. Of course, they go hand in glove. Today, we're chatting all about overcoming anxiety and finding a path to happiness. We'll also discuss the power of words and manifestation. For many, happiness is usually referred to as the ultimate goal of life that everyone strives for. But a multinational study called Predictors of Aversion to Happiness authored by Mohsen Joshanlo, found that people with unhappy childhoods are more likely to exhibit a fear of happiness. Happiness is a highly coveted emotion that many of us build our lives around, but psychology research suggests that people can be afraid of happiness, a concept called aversion to happiness, the belief that experiencing or expressing happiness can cause bad things to happen. Now, as humans, we have different genes, different fingerprints, different personality traits, and different ideas about happiness. Our attitude towards happiness is not just a matter of personal choice. The attitude is determined to some degree by cultural factors, our psychological traits, such as degree of perfectionism, and the quality of our relationships with others throughout life. Here to chat, you guessed it, happiness, overcoming anxiety, and the power of manifestation is the amazing Trish Barillas. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. So, Trish, can you share with us your journey and what inspired you to become a life coach focusing on anxiety, breakups, and career advancement?
So, my whole life, I've always been fascinated by the human condition, human behavior. And I didn't realize that most of my life I had been coaching. It's something that came very natural. So, I studied psychology for my BA. And then once I was able to really navigate what my trajectory was going to be, someone that I had gone to pick my path was a life coach. And within probably the last 10 minutes of our session, he then said to me, I think you should look into this. And within a week, I signed up at NYU, and it was that fast and that simple.
Talk about there are no coincidences. You're exactly where you're supposed to be at all time, and I truly believe in that. And positive emotions, when you feel positive, have been linked with better health, longer life, and of course, greater well-being in so many numerous scientific studies. On the other hand, chronic anger and worry and hostility increase the risk of developing heart disease because people react to these feelings with raised blood pressure. I know, of course, I do. And of course, stiffening of blood vessels. And that's a big no no. So it isn't easy to maintain a healthy, positive, and emotional state all the time. And harnessing the power of happiness and mindfulness and inner strength is easy for me, but it could be a daunting and clueless task for many. So let's talk about that. Dealing with anxiety. So, in your experience, what is the most common misconceptions about anxiety and how do you address them with your clients?
The most common misconceptions is that it's a choice, that people are choosing to have this type of suffering, that they are choosing not to just breathe through it, find the right meditation, relax a bit more. We're all connected by different DNA. We are not we don't know maybe what the reason is and like what the source is that started our journey with anxiety and or depression, etc. So it's not a choice. We can be wired, whether it's genetics, whether it's severe trauma, whether it is due to drug use. There's just so many factors of why we might be wired a certain way. But with my clients, I don't focus on the why. I focus on how can we move forward and how can we get them to a place where they accept and can live a fulfilled life.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, anxiety is not always harmful, right? It's a motivator if you actually look at the glass half full versus half empty. Now, your Instabook, A Face of Anxiety, is a very powerful narrative of your personal battle with anxiety disorder and panic disorder. What motivated you to share your story so openly?
I had left a job, a very cushy corporate office, expenses plus plus, and I wasn't happy, which is why I love that we're doing this surrounding happiness. And I always knew I was going to coach. I had always coached as a side hustle, and I woke up one day, I decided I was going to change things and find my happiness. And whilst I was in Hawaii on a trip with a group of friends, somebody mentioned that they had an idea of writing a book on Instagram, but they couldn't figure out anything to write about. So they said I should do it and that I should do it about anxiety, which I was very shameful about my experience. I didn't want people in my corporate world to realize the struggle. But finally, after some convincing and after some, earthing in Hawaii, I just said, sure, let's do it. And I didn't think it was going to stick. I just started writing kind of a cliff note version of my life. And then it kind of took off. And then I realized people needed to hear a story, and it just happened to be mine at the time.
It's a beautiful one. And now overcoming anxiety. So, what are some effective strategies that you recommend for individuals struggling with anxiety to find their path to happiness?
My favorite strategy is really about the what is versus the what if. So we're always in the what if thinking. Anxiety lives in the past and the future. It doesn't reside in the present. So the more present one can get, the more grounded they feel. So the what is what are you actually dealing with in your current reality today versus the what if. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? However, it's not happening. So we're just not used to living in the moment and really sticking to the facts of our situation. So when we can train the brain to stick to the facts and not to the story or to the what if, it can really help in getting yourself grounded mentally.
I love that you just said that. Be in the moment. That's what everybody is missing. No one is living in the moment anymore. To your point, we're all thinking about the future or what we're going to do and change or what happened, yesterday or the day before. And I always say mindfulness practices, cognitive restructuring and self-compassion. You have to be hard on you can't be that hard on yourself all the time. Are key strategies, at least for me. Now, the power of words and manifestation, let's chat that. So, can you elaborate on how the power of words can influence our mindset and help us in manifesting our goals?
Most of anxiety, well, underneath anxiety is fear. So, what do we fear? And anxiety is going to generally go to what you hold the most weight on, whether it's your mental stability, your family, your children, your job, and your power of thought. Thoughts have so much weight, and we don't realize what we say to ourselves. And generally, given a 50-50 scenario, if you don't know the actual outcome of any one thing, people will go to the negative. It's more comfortable there. They will say, well, it's not going to work out because, oh, well, this happened, da da da. It's always something that's not held in the positive. But if it's a 50-50, why can't we think about it in the positive? Why does it always have to be something that holds us back versus kind of put us forward? And when it comes to your thoughts and the power of words, you're either moving towards your mental and physical health or you're moving away from it, but there's a choice. And I think that's what we forget is that we have a choice to advocate for ourselves, and we don't do that enough.
Very true, very wise. And it's also about connectivity and human connection because modern happiness has certain tropes associated with it: money, success, comfort. But social scientists are finding that generating happiness in your life may have less to do with an arbitrary number, like your bank account or how many Instagram followers we have, and more to do with how well we connect with the people around us, which was very interesting because it is all about human connectivity as well. And this leads me to talk about breakups. So, breakups can be a significant source of anxiety. What advice would you give to someone trying to heal and move forward?
I love this question. Breakups, I feel, is really breaking through your next element of life. It puts you into that next chapter. There needs to be a learning that happens. And if you don't, then we'll repeat patterns. One thing that I can say is people always think that closure comes from the other person. Oh, I just want to meet to get closure. I just want to talk to get closure. But in reality, to me, that means that you're still searching for something to be fixed or solvable. And closure comes from oneself. You give yourself the closure. And once you go to the acceptance of a breakup, which is generally the hardest part, is can I accept this breakup and move on from it? That is more of the healthy way to look at it versus I need closure. What did I do? Researching everything about the other person because it's a lesson for us. We're not supposed to be fixing someone else.
You are so wise. I love listening to you speak. Now let's chat career advancement. So, how do you assist individuals in overcoming anxiety-related obstacles in their professional lives? Because that's a real thing.
Generally, people have a lot of imposter syndrome and they feel that they're not valued enough or worthy enough or whatever it might be, whatever obstacles are up against. However, I really feel that there's a lot of old stories in there and they will pop up. And it's the way that you need to reframe how you see yourself now as a professional versus how you may have even been 2 years ago. Every year, the goal is to be learning and to be better and to get more skills and then to own that and to really, the way that I like to word it is know your value, because then that equals where your worth. And I think people have a hard time owning their value, right? And unfortunately, this happens a lot in a woman demographic. They're not owning their skill sets and their value, and then therefore they don't know their worth.
Well, it's all about knowing your worth, and definitely we need cheerleaders in our corner and segments like this to remind us that we have to stop and really evaluate ourselves and go easy on ourselves. And building confidence, effective communication skills, stress management techniques, all of these are key and critical to overcome anxiety related obstacles. Now, could you share? I want to talk practical tips. Could you share a few practical tips or exercises that our audience can implement daily to manage anxiety?
Yes, a lot of times people that tend to be anxious can't really meditate the way a non-anxious person might be able to. So you have to find your grounding, and doesn't have to look the way that it looks on the social norm, right? You don't have to be in yoga outfit and be sitting on a bag. Like, whatever brings you peace is the thing that's going to get you centered. And mindfulness is just doing something with intention, right? What's the intention behind it? And always sticking to the facts. That's such a practical tool that we usually don't do. And I also tell people to write it in the notes section of their phone so that they can come back to it and then kind of reread it. If they're in an irrational state, it'll help them come back to a more rational sense of understanding of where they currently are. And then also, have you felt this before? And how did it work out the last time? So a lot of times we'll get scared because we're having some feeling or we're activated, but generally there's patterns. So if we just address, okay, well, how did I get through this last time? And did I, the amount of times that this has happened or I felt this way, have I come out on the other side? And generally 99% of the time, that answer is yes.
Interesting, because when you put it like that, and you kind of give us that flip side of it, our thoughts are also impact. Our thoughts also impact, of course, what we manifest in our lives, because it starts up here. But it can be argued that the real power lies in our words, right? It's our words that provide a bold affirmation of our innermost thoughts, and they are confirmation to the world of how we see ourselves, our lives, and others. And it is this powerful affirmation that I always say to my 8-year-old daughter, that our words provide, which enables our thoughts to manifest into a reality. And that's when we talk about the power of manifestation. Now, I'm going to segue a little bit because we're almost out of time, and I love where this conversation is going. In fact, I could talk to you for another 30 minutes. But I do want to talk about Once Upon a Coconut, because this segment is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, the Hydration with Heart segment. Now, Once Upon a Coconut brand has taken off very quickly and successfully. And there's a ton of VIPs, celebrities, majors like yourself endorsing it. Why do you think they are so successful?
Well, I think that's an easy question. It's because it tastes just like taking a straw and sticking it into an actual coconut. My father has a farm in Guatemala. We cut them down with machetes. So something that is so simple, and that can taste just like the real thing. How could it not do well,
I
right?
agree. Yeah, I agree. And I love coconut water because of its truly proprietary health benefits. You have potassium and calcium and magnesium. Those are all electrolytes. They play such an important role in helping maintain your heart health and your liver and your kidney functions, your digestive functions. So I always give it to my daughter. The chocolate flavor tastes exactly like Yoo-hoo, but it's no added sugar.
You.
It tastes like a Yoo-hoo, and she thinks that she's drinking something very naughty. But I love hydrating, and it's really, really beneficial for my skin. And the taste, you're right, the taste is absolutely incredible.
As an anxious, hydration is key. I've always been told that I'm not hydrated enough. So for me to always have it on hand, and my husband and I have to fight over who usually gets the last one, but I find that I can get so much more out of it if I have a can versus drinking, 4 more glasses of water, which doesn't feel good to me in the moment to drink that much liquid. So the Once Upon a Coconut just hits it right, nail on the head when it comes to how I need to hydrate better.
That's exactly what it's for. The amount of potassium in one can, you couldn't even get in 3 bananas, and you would have to intake so much more calories and sugar. So it's a great replacement. Well, we are officially out of time, my dear. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was a pleasure chatting with you. Guys, it's one thing to introduce a premium coconut water that tastes better than anything you've ever tried before, but it's truly something else to give back to the communities and people that truly need it. And that's why for every case of Once Upon a Coconut, they donate 10% to a charity each month. You can also head to one of the preferred charities, Down Syndrome Foundation of Florida, dsfflorida.org. That was our Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was the incredible Trish Barillas, a firecracker Latina life coach, helping you pave the way to happiness and overcome anxieties and, of course, discover the best version of yourself. Head directly to her website at trishbarillas.com or check her out on the gram at tbarillas or at Face of Anxiety. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're featuring Dr. Suzanne Kilmer, founding director of Laser and Skin Surgery Medical Group and clinical professor at the Department of Dermatology at the University of California, Davis School of Medicine. Dr. Kilmer was a principal investigator in several hundred clinical trials for laser skin resurfacing, laser hair removal, pulsed dye, and fractional lasers for wrinkles and scars. She lectures annually at national and international dermatology meetings. She served on the board of directors for ASDS and ASLMS and has received multiple awards and presidential citations for her contributions to the field of dermatology. Now, understanding how the treatment work requires knowledge about lasers and their effects on the skin. That is Dr. Kilmer's entire ethos. Simply put, lasers are powerful, narrow spectrum light beams. In dermatology, carbon dioxide laser, otherwise known as a CO2 laser, is invisible, far infrared light with a length of 10,600 nanometers generated from carbon dioxide. Water molecules selectively and highly absorb light of such a wavelength. Now, the epidermis, the topmost layer of the skin, is sensitive to CO2 laser beams. And when CO2 laser hits the skin, the energy heats up and vaporizes epidermal water molecules and with them, the epidermal cells. Now, in the hands of a skilled laser dermatologist like Dr. Kilmer, CO2 lasers can strip off the epidermis with minimal damage to underlying tissues. The CO2 laser is an ablative laser because it removes the skin's superficial layers. Today, she joins me to chat lasers, skin rejuvenation, and the benefits of carbon dioxide therapy for the skin. Welcoming now to the show is Dr. Suzanne Kilmer. Welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what I really love.
This is right up your alley. You are the expert, my dear. So let's talk your background and contribution. So, Dr. Kilmer, could you share with us your journey in dermatology and what inspired you to specialize in laser and skin rejuvenation?
Absolutely. I'm actually very lucky. I got into it way in the beginning of lasers. And there had been some laser work in the early 60s, but there was an accident in the lab. And then lasers started popping up again in the 80s. And back then it was to treat birthmarks, so nothing cosmetic. And then we were looking at treating tattoos, again, not really cosmetic. And I had trained under somebody at UC Davis, Dr. Ronald Wieland, who knew a lot about it. But he said, if you want to learn more, you want to be at the forefront, you got to go train with Rox Anderson. And Rox Anderson runs Wellman Labs of Photomedicine at Harvard, and he is the inventor of innumerable things. Things that laser hair removal, cool sculpting, tattoo removal, birthmarks, and then, of course, fractional resurfacing and fully ablative resurfacing. And so with him, I was able to start right from the beginning. I became his right-hand person. And then when I moved back to Sacramento, we stayed in contact. We're still friends to this day. And through all this learning that I got back when I was his fellow, I spent every day at lunch and I would write notes on a napkin, and like everything that he explained that was actually really complicated, he could make simple. And so I had this benefit of really understanding everything about laser physics from the get-go, and then slowly adding in more lasers over time. So it's really been very lucky and my privilege to be where I started and to stay in it as much as I have, because I really, really love the field. So I'm happy to be here to share any information anybody wants.
Yeah, it's all about mentorship, and you seem to have had the right ones, determination and knowledge. And of course, knowledge is power, and you have turned that into your own, brand at this point. Now, having been recognized with multiple, and I mean multiple awards and presidential citations, what do you consider your most significant contribution to the field of dermatology?
I love figuring out ideas, but I think what I am probably myself most proud of is just the mentoring, the teaching, like the passing on the knowledge, because that's what Rox Anderson did for me. He gave me this start and then let me really understand it. And most of my awards are for innovation, of course, but then you have to do something with that and you have to hand it off to others. So I think the teaching and the mentoring is what I'm the most proud of.
Beautiful. And for those listening, unless you've been living under a rock for the past few years, you're probably aware of the number of fields that laser therapy is being used in, including skincare. By precisely removing the dead skin and redundant skin layer by layer, laser skin resurfacing helps make your skin appear younger and healthier. And that's the bottom line. The best thing about this procedure is that it can either be performed on its own or with other cosmetic surgeries, what we call combo therapy. And that's extremely important to note as well. Now, that said, for our audience unfamiliar with laser resurfacing, could you explain what it is and how it benefits the skin?
Absolutely. So when we say laser resurfacing, we're really talking about anything that we do to the top of the skin. So in fully ablative laser resurfacing, as Den was describing earlier, you take that whole top off. And when you do that, the skin repopulates from cells that are deeper in the skin, like down the hair follicle, the adnexal structures, and those cells aren't as damaged. So that is probably the best thing we can do to improve health for the skin, because we allow newer, younger, better cells to repopulate. And we actually decrease our incidence for skin cancers. And there's a lot of other great side effects besides just the cosmetic benefit. The health benefit's huge. Now, the other thing we can do is, because that's a big deal procedure, and wound care, everything, you're hiding a solid week. The other thing we can do, and Rox and Dina Ranstein came up with this, is poke thousands of tiny holes into the skin. And we can do that in a variety of different ways by different lasers with different energies, different densities, different spot sizes. So you can pick how big the holes are that you poke into the skin, which can create channels. And those channels will then allow delivery of products into the skin, or just allow healing, even if you didn't put anything on top to deliver in. If you just poke the holes, the skin does what it does, which is heal. And the skin's really smart. So by poking those holes, even though you didn't take the whole top off, it'll turn darker areas light, lighter areas, give it some pigment back, like if for some reason you've lost pigment. It will even it out. So if you have scars that are rough, and it could be a surgical scar, it could be a burn scar, it could be a traumatic scar, you can then remodel the skin and improve the look of that skin and the function of that skin.
It's all about cell manipulation, and of course, you have a big laser beam at your disposal. So of course, you are going to get the effect that you want. Now, in your practice, how do you determine when laser resurfacing is the preferred treatment compared to other available options? And curious to know, how do you combine this with CO2 lift?
Sure. Well, the first thing is a conversation, because no matter what you use after, what you're doing at that time determines the expense to the patient, the pain, the downtime, wound care. So a fully ablative procedure is sort of the max of all that, max benefit, but it's the most downtime. It's uncomfortable. We give them drugs. We get them through it fine. But their wound care is significant as well. And so other things, if we do fractional lasers, it'll be a shorter time. There are lasers that don't even really break the skin. They can go through the skin and treat things, which is another, whole different array of things that we can offer. But then once we've created this wound, how can we have it heal the best? So number one, actually, before we even make the wound, we prep the skin. And so we do things like maybe lighten if you're a darker skin type, maybe we don't want you to pigment as much. There's like hydroquinone, retin-A, things that we can do to prep the skin and get you ready. Now I'm going to do a procedure, and then I've got to take care of that procedure after. So from that point on, depending on if it's a fully ablative, I've got to be very careful, right? Because I've taken off that whole barrier of skin. So I've got to let some of that come back before I can put too much on topically, because I don't want to irritate you. Something like the carboxy lift can actually enhance healing. So it can make it an oxygen-rich environment. It can promote healing. But I also have to be careful with what is present there, because I don't want to irritate that brand new skin that's there. So for a carboxy lift, you could do that right after a regular Fraxel, or you could do that after some things. But if I have a fully ablative procedure, I might just want to let you heal in a little bit, make sure that you get some barrier function back, and so that you don't react to too much. And then we can do the things that can enhance more healing. So there's a lot of things that we can do to enhance healing. And I think anything that we can add to our armamentarium to make that downtime less, the wound care less, pain less, shorten the whole wound care time, that's a benefit.
Without a doubt, I've had many procedures that involve dermatology procedures, and the CO2 Lift Pro as a medical monotherapy is extremely effective. I mean, it's even great for severely dry skin or itchy skin, but for the
Right.
speedy healing of wounds, it increases blood flow. So I love that. But it's also great as an aesthetic monotherapy, right? So when we look at the fine lines and wrinkles and the creepy skin and the dark circles and the textural imbalances, the enlarged pores, I like it best that it's safe. So when applied to upper eyelids or on a mucosal membrane, I don't have to worry about it. But I have found that it has, to your point, with the proper application, sped up the healing process of wounds, and I thought it was a fantastic product. Now, when deciding between fully ablative and fractionated treatments, what factors do you consider? Are there specific skin types or conditions that respond better to one over the other? I mean, in your experience, who would you say is the ideal candidate for fully ablative treatment, and who is better suited for fractionated treatment?
So fully ablative, like Caucasian, lots of sun damage, lots of precancers, or they have a lot of wrinkling, because again, they don't have the melanin in their skin to prevent the rays from getting in. So anybody who's got a lot of sun damage and you really want to erase that, but is also willing to go through the downtime. So whenever you go fractionated, you're not only shortening the downtime, but you're also decreasing the injury to that epidermal dermal junction, the DE junction. And for pigmented skin types, so the darker your skin, so types maybe 3, but also 4, 5, and for sure 5 and 6, which are the darker skin types, if you can just poke holes through that DE junction instead of completely disrupt it, you're going to get much faster healing with much less downtime and much less post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. So, and then as we have darker skin types, we might decrease our density so that there is less of an injury through that DE junction.
It's such an important thing to know and to note and to consider that there has to be a trained professional operating that laser at the other end, because not all skin tones and shades react to lasers the same way. And I was reading that the Fitzpatrick scale is utilized by dermatologists to get an idea about how different types of colored skin will respond to UV light. And this scale ranks from 1 to 6, with 1 being the lightest color and 6 having the most melanin. And even though it's possible to use any category of laser on any skin tone, it's imperative that practitioners remain mindful of doing so, because the more pigmented the skin, the higher the risk of that person experiencing more darkness, blotchiness, and brown spots, even if it's the way they want to treat in the first place. So I'm very scared of going to somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. You are a leader in your field. It's easy for you to say, but here in the tri-state area, we have lots of people operating laser machines that should not. So thank you for doing your research and being, really at the forefront of this.
No, my pleasure. And it's so important. You make a huge point, because it's much harder to clean up the mess afterwards. So if it's not done well and the person doesn't know how to handle the complications, which is actually super key. If you create the injury, you want to also be able to help them to heal. And if there's a problem, you need to recognize it and jump in and treat it quickly.
Yep, without a doubt. Now, the future of laser technology. So, looking towards the future, how do you see laser technology evolving in the field of dermatology? Are there any emerging laser treatments or technologies that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple things. I can't tell you the names because they're in clinical trials right now, but we're looking at better ways to treat red and brown, and also to turn on skin healing without as much downtime. We're looking at making lasers that we already have more efficient, more specific, if you will, so that you can narrow down their focus, but by that increasing their efficacy. Everything right now is there's some new things too. Like we haven't really talked about, like off face. There's a lot of body contouring, and muscle stimulation and skin tightening, if you will. FDA hates that word, because we have to be careful about how we use it. But there's a lot of things that we're doing, and we are able to do it now with very little to no downtime. So we can put all these things together in conjunction. So on your face, I might treat through your skin for some of the red and brown, and then I might use a laser that's coming up that can smooth the top off but not take the whole top off, but turn on remodeling. And then I might use something that also puts heat deeper into the skin that can do tightening. And you can walk away with a great result. And this is our hope for the future, is that we will have a myriad of things that we can do that give you similar results to what you get with fully ablative resurfacing, but minus that downtime, minus that risk that is incurred when you do that. But there's a lot of parts to that have to be filled in. And like right now, there's a laser that Rox is working on that you go from both sides, and you go in and you focus the light in deep so that you can damage what's in deep with a teeny tiny pinhole through the surface. And that will get turned into something even more powerful than what that is to begin with. And it will be a smart laser, because this smart laser is going to have imaging with it. And it's going to be able to see the vessels in the brown and everything that's above, and then use these two laser pathways to target in deep with very minimal surface to injury to the skin. So much is happening. It's a super exciting world, and I'm so thrilled to be part of it.
Well, you are definitely the expert. And with that, we are out of time, but I want to thank you so much for coming on. You were such a pleasure to chat with, filled with knowledge and just so interesting.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Zen.
Guys, if you're indeed interested in getting laser skin resurfacing, you need to ensure that you have taken the good care to find the right doctor. And once you have gotten your treatment, you will need to avoid behavior patterns and habits that might recreate the same problem for you, because you definitely don't want to be wasting money on this. Certain steps you can take to care for your skin after laser treatment is to use the CO2 Lift products, definitely helping a lot of people. That was our Going Deep segment, brought to you by CO2lift.com. That was the incredible Dr. Suzanne Kilmer, founding director of Laser and Skin Surgery Medical Group. She's also a clinical professor at the Department of Dermatology, University of California, Davis School of Medicine. You could head directly to their website at skinlasers.com, or check them out on the gram at Laser and Skin CA. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in our Fintech CEO exclusive, live from the iconic New York Stock Exchange, we're featuring Armando Pantoja, a social media influencer, speaker, investor, and software engineer. He's a respected thought leader in the cryptocurrency space, and he's joined by his dear friend, Robert Croak, a financial educator and founder of the multi-million-dollar company Silly Bands. I know you've heard of them. They joined me at the New York Stock Exchange to chat Bitcoin, blockchain, artificial intelligence, and we'll also get insight on their upcoming new crypto podcast.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yes, definitely very fun. Day 2 for me here on the New York Stock Exchange, so quite a difference than my normal schedule, so this is going to be awesome.
Welcome. So let's dive right in. So you both have these fearless outlooks on Bitcoin's future, and I'd like to know where each of you predict its price is going to be 1 year from today. Robert, you go first.
Ooh, I'll go first. All right, we had this discussion last week. He's a little more conservative than I am, and so my take on this with the upcoming Bitcoin spot ETF approvals, the Bitcoin halving coming up April 18th of 2024, I believe by the end of next year, Bitcoin will be between 80,000 and 125,000 per coin.
Wow. Okay.
I'm putting it out there.
Putting it out there.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it. Put it in the books.
So there you go.
So
Armando, what do you say to this?
I'm a little bit more conservative than Robert, and because I believe that if you look at history, when a Bitcoin halving occurs, there's a 4 to 6 month delay on the hype cycle starting. So I think by the end of next year, we'll be between 50 and 85,000. But if you extend it into 2025, I think we can reach 250,000.
Okay. Well,
we have a steak dinner bet on this right here, so we're good.
Well, we have a yin and a yang over here, and this is why they're going to make a great podcast host. Now, it's important to note that predicting the price of Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency is highly speculative, and market trends, global economic factors, financial advancements, and regulatory changes all play significant roles in determining its price. All right, Robert, now, what impact do you anticipate BlackRock's Bitcoin and Ethereum, its ETFs, will have on the financial markets? This is a big one.
This is a big one. So my take on it is I think that it will affect the gold market more than it will the stock market. And I also believe that so many people that have been sitting in treasury bills and high yield savings accounts, I feel that they will free up some of that cash to get in on this gold rush with the new ETFs and Bitcoin. So I think that the stock market won't be affected as much as the T-bills, gold, and high yield savings accounts as Bitcoin grows and grows and grows, because this adoption is going to be massive and very, very quick. And so that is why I believe that's the effects on the market.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I like that. Now, indeed, BlackRock's involvement signifies a major endorsement from the traditional financial sector. The introduction of exchange-traded funds by such a significant player will definitely increase the legitimacy and accessibility of cryptocurrencies, and the impact could include increased investment from both retail and institutional investors and potentially more stability in the crypto markets. Now let's move on. Let's check cryptocurrencies. Okay, so Bitcoin is the largest and most popular cryptocurrency by market cap and was created by the very famous Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2009. Okay, so Bitcoin's market cap right now hovers at $458 billion Coming in second, we have Ethereum with a market cap of $216 billion, and then we have Tether with a market cap of $66 billion. Now, could you each share your top 3 cryptocurrency picks, provide reasons behind your choices, considering, of course, technology and market trends? Robert, you go first.
Sure, yes. Put me on the spot first every single time. I love it. So I say number 1 for me is Bitcoin, obviously. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's a safe haven. There is so much great news and adoption right now with all of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. So Bitcoin is definitely number 1. And a key factor here and a key kind of metric is only 22% of US households own Bitcoin right now. So when you think about it from that perspective, we're still very early. I bought my first Bitcoin at $7, so that was a very long time ago. So to me, Bitcoin is kind of old hat, so it's always dollar cost averaging in. But to somebody new, the big thing here is to educate.
Yeah.
To get them to understand you're not too late. Bitcoin has a finite amount of, number of Bitcoin available. And so it's just a great safe haven and long-term investment. And I tell everyone that listens to me that I believe they should be in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, maybe have 5-10% of their investable portfolio in the crypto space. So that's number 1. Number 2 would be Ethereum for me because of its strength in building and deploying smart contracts. Again, it's an older blue chip platform, and so many people are building around Ethereum. So I think Ethereum definitely is a good long-term hold in my second holding. And then number 3, and it's been on a big run right now, is Chainlink. I love Chainlink. There's mass adoption, and it's the most widely used protocol to build on. And I think Chainlink could see $200-300 price points in the next 3 to 4 years. So Chainlink would be my number 3. Those are mine. Go for it.
So I want to agree with Robert on the first 2. Is I think that Bitcoin hasn't reached anywhere near mass adoption yet. Like he said, 22% of households own Bitcoin. And I think that Bitcoin also has a great advantage from name recognition. Right now, if we go out to the streets and we ask anybody, name one cryptocurrency, and 90-95% of people will be able to say Bitcoin, right? So when the next Bitcoin bull run happens and the ones that happen after that, I think people will flock to Bitcoin because that's the top of mind. So I think that's going to cause that price to go up. So that's my number 1 Bitcoin. That's my number 1 crypto. 2 is Ethereum. And the reason why I think Ethereum has a lot of potential is because you're able to build on top of that blockchain with DAOs, NFTs, smart contracts. And every time one of those new technologies or new protocols are built, you have to use Ethereum to transfer those tokens or transfer those assets. That creates a higher demand for Ethereum, and it creates more use cases for Ethereum. So Ethereum is number 2, and I think eventually, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, I think Ethereum will eventually, in the next 5 to 10 years, be the number 1 crypto, past Bitcoin. I think Ethereum will be the number 1 crypto eventually. Okay. In 2017, Ethereum was very close to what we call flipping Bitcoin and being number 1. But I still think it has the potential to do that. My last one is XRP. And the reason why is because XRP's we all know about the lawsuits with the SEC. But I think that the price of XRP is artificially too low for what the utility of it is and what the potential of it is. So when I see an opportunity like that, that's a great investment opportunity, because once those artificial barriers are erased, which I think it will be in the next year and a half, the price can truly rise to what the true value is. And right now I think XRP's true value should be between $10 and $15. But I think with the next bull run, we could see $20, $25.
That's some deep insight coming from a software engineer's background. Well, you do what you do best for a reason, Armando. Now, Bitcoin is increasingly recognized as a legitimate asset class, that's without a doubt. Often compared to digital gold, it provides a hedge against inflation and currency devaluation, and its decentralized nature offers diversification away from traditional financial assets. Now, Robert, with Bitcoin's growing acceptance, that's the underlying theme here, what are your thoughts on its role in traditional investment portfolios, and how do you see this evolving in the coming years?
Well, I mean, we're dealing with it every day right now. The news cycle is all over the spot Bitcoin ETF approvals. BlackRock, ARK Investments, Fidelity, everyone has one. And once those get approved and you get all of that institutional money in, the news cycle calms down about volatility, then I think it's going to become the norm in the next 2 to 3 years, because everyone will be able to buy cryptocurrency in what they would consider a safe custodial space.
Right.
So with so many family offices and all of the big funds all bringing in cryptocurrency to the masses, I think in the next 2 to 3 years, all of these conversations will go away, because having crypto as part of your general portfolios through BlackRock or Fidelity or Schwab is going to be the norm. And so I think that's the future for us, because the adoption, crypto is too big to fail now.
Yeah.
You know, you still have those people that bought high and sold low that say, oh, Bitcoin's a scam or crypto's a scam. That's over with, and that news cycle will fade in the coming months and years because of the adoption and what it's doing in changing our world for the better. Speed, agility, cross-border payments will be better, banking will be better, real estate will be better. All of those sectors of business are going to be improved in life through the blockchain technology and the associated cryptos.
Right.
So that's where I think we're going, and it's just going to be an incredible time for us.
Yeah, without a doubt, Bitcoin's role in traditional portfolios is likely to grow. It could become a standard part of portfolio diversification strategies, particularly as more investors seek assets uncorrelated with traditional financial markets. Main challenges for Bitcoin in traditional portfolios will be managing its high volatility and ensuring regulatory compliance. Now, educational efforts and the development of more sophisticated Bitcoin-related financial products like BlackRock's Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs will surely help integrate it into traditional portfolios. Okay, we are almost at the end of this, but as the crypto market evolves rapidly now, could you each highlight one lesser-known cryptocurrency? We've talked about the big ones. We've talked about the household names that we know, but can you give me one lesser-known crypto that you believe has significant growth potential and explain why you find it promising? Armando, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so one of the cryptos that I really believe has a lot of potential is IOTA. IOTA is a cryptocurrency that's quantum safe, which means that when the emergence of quantum computers comes, it won't be able to be hacked by quantum computers, which are a lot faster than traditional computers or classic computers. And I think that it also works, it's feeless. So there's no fees to transfer IOTA. And the third reason is that it works without the internet. All you have to do is be on a network, and you can transfer IOTA in case of a mass catastrophe. Like right now, there's rumors that there could be a solar flare that could take the internet out for a couple of weeks. Now, it's probably not going to happen, but that just shows that there are dangers out there that could, disconnect us from the internet or anything like that. So IOTA is one of the only cryptos that can be traded, it can be transferred without access to the internet. So IOTA right now is going through development problems and other like structural issues with their blockchain or whatever. But I think eventually, if they get their act together, IOTA could be one of the biggest cryptos in the world.
Well, definitely taking notes on that one. Robert, what's your favorite lesser-known cryptocurrency?
I'm going to go lesser known.
Lesser,
So
okay.
I'm going to put my neck out there for BitRock.
Okay.
It's super fast, almost no gas fees. It's an Ethereum Layer 2 project. And I just think because of all the development on Ethereum and people looking for really efficient manners to be able to do their projects on, I think BitRock is going to be a really great product in the future. Right now it's at about 17 cents, and I think it has a lot of upside potential coming soon.
Wow, 17 cents. That's a buy-in right there. Now,
Yes.
a cryptocurrency like Algorand, if you think of it, when I did my research, could be highlighted for its technological advancements in what they call scalability and security. It uses a unique consensus mechanism, what they call pure proof of stake, PPOS, that promises lower transaction fees and higher throughput, making it an attractive option for decentralized applications. So Algorand is definitely one that you may have heard of. Now, Armando, quantum, at this point right now, this is your expertise, this is what you do. We talk about quantum computing accelerating artificial intelligence capabilities, particularly in processing large databases and complex algorithms. Now, you have this background of artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, you funnel it all together, you found your perfect partner here, Robert Crook, the co-host What I hear is an upcoming podcast between the two of you. Robert, tell us about this upcoming podcast with Armando. What will you be talking about?
Yeah, so we're super excited about the podcast, and it's really a match made in heaven because we both have long histories in cryptocurrency and a lot of back knowledge of what's going on. We're not new to crypto. Neither of us started at the height of the bull run, and so we've seen all the ups and downs. And so right now, my podcast, Rich Habits Podcast, is one of the top business and finance podcasts in the United States. But what we don't cover a lot in the Rich Habits Podcast is cryptocurrency. So with everything that's developing right now between the blockchain, crypto, Web3, NFTs, AI, that is such an important sector, and it's a very big sector. We felt that it deserved a podcast specifically for those topics. And due to our backgrounds, we just thought it was a perfect time for us to do this in this kind of interim phase where we're coming out of the crypto winter, we're getting back into a bull market, and it's just really perfect timing because people need to be educated and help them with the fear factor, that constant worry about crypto being such a scam or, too much volatility.
Right. Now, Armando, given your background in artificial intelligence, could you share your insights on how AI is poised to influence the blockchain industry in the years ahead?
Now, most people have been introduced commercially to AI in the last year through ChatGPT, but AI extends a lot wider than that. It will affect finance, it will affect legal matters, it will affect our everyday life in 5 to 10 years. Even today, it's affecting us. So one of the biggest opportunities I see in cryptocurrency is with the decentralized autonomous organizations, the DAOs. Now, traditionally in the past, DAOs have been out since the Ethereum blockchain was released in 2015. But DAOs are kind of like clunky now. It's very difficult for the average person to understand it. It's almost like a solution with no problem, right? But I believe that AI has the potential to become the problem solver and the solution for the DAOs, right? So right now, a traditional DAO, you have members who own tokens who vote on different protocols, different decisions that the DAO makes. Now, when we have a computerized system like that, why would we have humans making those decisions? You can plug in AI to DAOs, which is almost a perfect combination, and create completely autonomous organizations, both on the way they operate and the way they function in the real world. For example, you could have a call center, right? You could have AI agents making those calls in the entire organization, and I can buy tokens into that organization, and as that organization makes profit, it's distributed through the token holders. So it gives an opportunity for people to actually profit and grow from artificial intelligence in the real world. And it gives the opportunities to extend artificial intelligence by giving them the resources through the smart contracts that it needs to in order to function.
It's one thing when you talk about artificial intelligence making older jobs obsolete, but it's a whole different thing to talk about how artificial intelligence is making the newer jobs in the emerging disruptive industries like cryptocurrency and blockchain now potentially obsolete. So we're definitely headed somewhere, and people have to tread very carefully in figuring out what industries they're going to work in and invest in, because it could be a double-edged sword. Now, AI will definitely revolutionize blockchain technology, improve security, enhancing efficiency in transaction processing, and develop more sophisticated smart contracts. Artificial intelligence algorithms can also be used to analyze patterns in blockchain transaction data, which can be beneficial in various applications like fraud detection and market trend analysis. Okay, now let's move on. Now, Armando, you tie the two very nicely together because, like I started saying earlier, quantum computing is in fact going to accelerate artificial intelligence capabilities, particularly in processing these large data sets and complex algorithms. However, it also necessitates stronger security protocols on blockchain networks, especially when AI is involved in managing or interacting with digital assets. So my question to you, Armando, is quantum computers are getting more powerful and could affect how cryptos and blockchain are secured. Now, how do you think this is going to impact the safety of our digital assets and the future of technologies like AI in blockchain?
So right now, most of the top cryptos are secured with cryptology, right? So cryptology is a way of encrypting data so that it takes a a long time for a classic computer to break that. Any computer can break any algorithm or any encryption. A computer can break encryption, but the problem is that it takes so much time that the data that it's trying to see will already be outdated. To crack a Bitcoin wallet, it would take 50 to 100 years. So by the time you crack the wallet, the coins are gone.
Yeah.
Or, so it's not even worth it to do it. But with the emergence of quantum computing, that you can do that in a fraction of a second, because quantum computers are many times faster than classic computers that the speed is not even an issue anymore. So the only way to protect against that is create quantum safe cryptocurrencies, which a lot of like Bitcoin and Ethereum can be updated to be quantum safe, but there's already currencies out there that are quantum safe today, like IOTA, which I mentioned earlier.
Right.
So it's going to cause a lot of changes in the way we see encryption. That goes farther than just cryptocurrency. Banks are encrypted the same way, password, everything that we do today is encrypted by time. So once that time factor is gone, when quantum computers are able to do everything in a fraction of a second, we're going to have to change the way we see encryption across multiple industries. Right. So it's not only going to affect crypto, it's going to affect every financial industry or transaction that we do today.
Well, I got my dose of education here on blockchain cryptocurrency in the last 15 minutes. I thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. I can't wait to hear this podcast. It's going to be brilliant because you have now merged all the disruptive emerging industries together, and there's two experts handling this. And you guys came here today and made a big splash. I can't imagine what you're going to do week after week with this podcast. Congratulations to you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming here. You definitely want to check out Armando Pantoja, who goes by the handle Tall Guy Tycoon all over social media. You can definitely check him out. You can go directly to his website, whoistallguytycoon.com, and definitely check out Robert Croak, financial educator and founder of Silly Bands. You can definitely check him out directly on his website at robertcroak.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to Fintech TV right here at the iconic New York Stock Exchange. I'm your host, Zen Sams. We'll see you next time.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, 100% pure coconut water. Imagine a drink that's nutrient-rich, powerfully refreshing, naturally sweet with no added sugars, not from concentrate, zero additives, low in calories, absolutely no artificial flavors, and is so tasty that it will become your new favorite beverage. Enter Once Upon a Coconut, the absolute best tasting coconut water you will ever try. Available in 4 refreshing flavors: pure, chocolate, pineapple, and sparkling with energy. Do your taste buds a favor and pick up some today at onceuponacoconut.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next, in America's favorite pharmacist segment, brought to you by buyoptimizers.com, we're chatting with the amazing Phil Cowley. He's joined by model and celebrity real estate agent and Instagram celebrity Rudy Bundini. Now, Rudy has modeled for Nike, Armani, Versace, and Calvin Klein. That's just to name a few. He's walked numerous runways, shot on many campaigns, been on over a dozen magazines and counting, and of course, so many billboards. Today, they join me to chat men's health, men's wellness, and why men cost the healthcare system 1.5 times more than us ladies do. Welcoming now to the show are my dear friends, Rudy Bundini and Phil Cowley. Welcome, superstars.
Well, hey, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's dive right in. Phil, we talked about this just the other day. Men's life expectancy is 5 years shorter than women's. The cost to the medical system is 1.5 times more, and 12% of all men are in fair to poor health. What do you think is the greatest contributor to this crisis?
Well, if it was just one, it'd be super easy to fix, but I think that there are multiple contributors to it. And I think the biggest one that's come out over the last few years is mental health issues. If you start looking at the fact that men are substantially more addicted to both alcohol and drugs and still smoke at a higher rate than women, and then if you throw in the fact that the suicide rates of men are climbing, especially in the later years of their lives, it creates this chasm of potential issues. And I think it starts young, because I think early on in life, we're told that if you get sick or if you're hurt, you just rub a little dirt in it and keep going instead of go see a doctor when it's easy to take care of. So I think the societal pressures on men to be tough when they're younger are now showing up as us dying earlier when we're older.
when you put it like that, that's exactly why this is happening. And the greatest contributor to the crisis of men's health is weak demand for healthcare services, because men are more resistant to seeking medical help compared to women. And the reluctance of men to see doctors leads to a higher cost burden on the healthcare system, estimated at over $100 billion. So it does have a ripple effect. Now, Rudy, a Yale study shows women are 33% more likely to see a doctor, twice as likely to be treated for a chronic disease. Men have always been more resistant to seeing doctors, which is attributed to more than $100 billion, like I just said, in excess cost to the healthcare system. Have you ever waited too long to see a doctor, and why? And what do you think it's about men that makes them so resistive to care?
Well, yes, I have. I remember in my earlier ages, I had a broken hand and I waited over a week, and the hand was turning blue when I went and see a doctor because I was just having this tough it up mentality, and also the social expectation around masculinity is often discouragement for seeking help. And well, Phil said it well, put some dirt on it and keep going. So I haven't been an exception from this fact. So I have also dealt with the same issue. And although I know it's not logical, but this is kind of like a thread that as we grow up, we adopted based on the social expectation of men.
Waiting too long to see a doctor definitely is going to have serious consequences, not only to men's health, but to anybody's health, because it delays the diagnosis and treatment of potential health issues. And men's resistance to care stems from various factors, like you just said: societal expectations of masculinity, fear of vulnerability, and of course, cultural norms that discourage seeking help. Now, Phil, suicide rates are 4 times higher in men. Why do you think these numbers are getting worse, and how do we fix this?
I think it's that isolation of masculinity. And I think that there's not probably a better way to put it than isolation of masculinity. When you're happy, you're around everybody else. But the second you start feeling anxious or alone, you isolate yourself. And it has a lot to do with how our hormones work. Men's hormones are mostly testosterone. In order to make estrogen, we have to convert it. And estrogen is the primary way that we get oxytocin. Oxytocin is the reason why that we connect as human beings. So in men's case, especially elderly men, your testosterone starts to drop. So you don't have as much need to connect with people. Well, that leads to isolation. Isolation, especially with anxiety and depression, that leads to violent acts that take people way too young. I mean, we look at people like Robin Williams, who anybody would have spent time with. He felt alone. He felt scared. And he took his own life. And I think a lot of it has to do with that men have a tendency to isolate when they should be gathering people around them.
The increasing suicide rates among men are definitely attributed to a complex interplay of factors. We have mental health stigma, lack of access to mental health care, and societal pressure to conform to traditional masculine norms, like you both just said it on your own. And to address this crisis, I mean, several measures, of course, need to be taken. And this includes what we're doing: promoting mental health awareness, reducing stigmas surrounding men's health, and improving access. I think this is a critical one: improving access to mental health care services and providing targeted support programs for men struggling with mental health issues, because that's the root of it all. Now, Rudy, as a model and influencer constantly in the public eye, what do you struggle with the most, and how do you maintain a healthy balance?
Well, definitely maintaining and balancing public expectation and personal well-being has been a struggle, uh, even for me personally. And to find this balance, I personally prioritize mental health, and I establish some boundaries and emphasize on genuine connection with my audience. Also, at the same time, in my personal level, I surround myself with a supportive network of uh, group of people to kind of navigate the pressure of being a model and influencer, and at the same time to be able to have my personal life to lead somewhere
And
safer. Yes.
There's a lot of pressures. I mean, you are also a luxury real estate agent. You vacillate between two very separate worlds, from corporate to entertainment and modeling, which is it's filled with a very different perspective. So, you have a very different point of view when you're executing tasks, given what hat you're wearing. And there's controversies surrounding testosterone treatment, for instance. Mainly, it revolves around potential side effects right now, because we know that too much testosterone could lead to cardiovascular risks and prostate cancer. And it's important to weigh the benefits and risks of such treatments on an individual basis and under the guidance of healthcare professionals. But you're always about your body. How hard is it to navigate what's healthy and not healthy for you, Rudy, when it comes to your appearance and your physique?
Using testosterone, even in earlier ages, it includes a lot of risk and also the concerning factors of health issues, and also in long term, because then it would be hard for the body to itself produce. Also, but I am not talking about using it logically and under control and advice of a doctor. Just I'm more talking about abuse and misabuse of testosterone for performance enhancement that raises also ethical questions.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, because abuse of testosterone is really at the core of all of these issues. Now, Phil, hormones have been proven to play a role in anxiety and depression. As testosterone drops, men's health also drops. What is it about testosterone treatment that creates such a controversy? Because now we just went from one to the other. And what are some natural ways to keep testosterone levels more stable?
Back in the 80s, there was this huge push that testosterone was going to lead to this roid rage. In fact, there used to be these commercials where some guy would go Incredible Hulk on his whole family and like rip everything apart. And they'd be these muscle bound, like you'd see them on Muscle Beach kind of guys that come out. And that created this mindset that everybody who takes testosterone does that. And Rudy brought a huge point. Controlled logical was like completely moved. They thought there were only one type. It was going to be the Incredible Hulk, or there was going to be nobody that could do it. And what we find is that testosterone, as we get older, it goes down the same way that women go through menopause, men go through menopause, and our testosterone drops. And that's where you start to see suicide rates go up. So when you work with your doctor or your pharmacist, when you work at logical doses, they keep that underneath control. So you get to have your testosterone. You don't have to see that drop, and you still connect with people around you. Before you go straight to using testosterone, though, there are a few tricks to it. So about a third of all of our hormones, whether you're male or female, is actually reprocessed in our stomach. So we put it out, and then our bacteria in our gut grab onto it, tweak it back around, and put it back in. So products like BioOptimizer's Total Gut Health, which gives you prebiotic and postbiotic, as well as the actual bacteria itself, will help you reabsorb some of your old testosterone and help everything healthy. So you don't have to yet necessarily put more in. It'll be like, we'll just put a better way to filter it and get a lot of it back. And then including magnesium and zinc, those things also help you to utilize the testosterone you have at the highest amount. And anybody who works out as much as Rudy does, he could tell you pretty easily, if your gut health isn't good, you can't lift and you can't run and you can't work out. And then having enough testosterone for your zinc and your magnesium, your multivitamins also are essential in both of those things. But I think the whole idea that it first came up that we were all going to turn into these monsters with a little bit of testosterone really missed the point. And now a lot of studies are showing responsible low dose use extend out men's life, help with cardiac health, give them more lean muscle, and improve their quality of life.
I
Amazing.
think I totally agree with Phil. I think the natural way is the most optimistic way to maintain the stable testosterone level, regular exercises, sufficient sleep, stress management, the diet, which is including zinc and vitamin D. These are, and also staying away from alcohol. The alcohol consumption can also affect the testosterone level. That I think it would be other way to for these lifestyle factors.
Without a doubt. I mean, the natural ways to keep testosterone levels, to both your points, more stable, it's natural. It's regular exercise, maintaining a healthy weight, reducing stress levels, getting enough sleep, and consuming a balanced diet rich in nutrients, not rich in ramen noodles, I always say. Um, all of this is extremely important in proper T levels. And if you need that extra boost, Phil just said it. You just head to buyoptimizers.com and they have a great supplement. Now, Rudy, alcoholism, smoking, and drug use are all 35% higher in men. What do you think is leading to this difference in gender disparities with the numbers? And what advice do you have for people struggling?
Well, this can be from society expectation and coping mechanism or individual vulnerabilities. And I think advice for those who are struggling can include seeking professional help, building a support system and a group of friends, and addressing the root of cause of the behavior through therapy or counseling with professionals like Phil.
Exactly, exactly. Now, Phil, you said it well. I mean, exactly. The advice that you give is the advice that any father, mother, brother would give to their child, to their friend, to their neighbor. I mean, but it's important for people to keep hearing this in repetition, and the reminders are extremely important. That's why support systems exist, and it's not redundant to keep putting out the positive information. Now, Phil, there's structural differences in men's brains. Men use 7 times more gray matter in processing, as women use 10 times more white matter. Women's hippocampus is larger, which is responsible for memory and fear, and women have higher levels of natural serotonin and oxytocin, which are the bonding hormones. How do you think this difference affects men's health, and what are some natural ways to increase oxytocin? Oxytocin, again, is the most important hormone for bonding.
So men and women actually use different antidepressants. Normally, we try to push up just serotonin, and women do really, really well on what we call the SSRIs. Men, on the other hand, we usually need to add a little bit more norepinephrine because structurally, the amygdala is a little bit different in shape. The women have a much larger hippocampus. We see these changes, and so when you go into a physician's office and you're feeling down, they'll give you Prozac. And men are like, I just don't like it. It's not, and it's because we often use the wrong antidepressants. So when you're going in and you need help, make sure you go in with the idea that I can be different than the last person you saw. And that's a really important point to look at because men just don't like a lot of the antidepressants that are given out there. When it comes from more of a natural standpoint, men respond well to 5-HTP, which is a precursor. It's an amino acid. It's a precursor to making our own serotonin. And it works really well for men. Men actually do very well on 5-HTP. And then men also do really well, I've found, by increasing DIM. DIM is a diendyl esterified chemical. And by using that, it helps them keep the good amount of estrogen around without destroying it faster. And those are a couple of easy ways to go. But mostly, you want to make sure that you're being treated a little different than your female counterparts.
Well, you said it best right there. It's men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and that follows suit even in the way that our brains are mapped out, apparently. So there you have it. Now, Rudy, just going to the gym and seeing results gets harder as you age. What is the hardest part of maintaining your physique, and how does this affect you on a mental health level? And of course, as an expert in staying fit and healthy, what advice do you have to gain lean muscle?
Well, as you age, maintaining muscle mass become really challenging because of the factors due to slower metabolism and hormonal changes. The difficulty in sustaining a physical may impact mental health. So these two, I believe that they're going together, and it can also affect the body image and self-esteem in the long run. Uh, for gaining muscle, focus on balanced diet with sufficient protein, and also engage strength training exercises regularly. I recommend at least 4 times a week, and prioritize proper rest, recovery, and consider consulting with a fitness professional uh, for personalized guidance based on your ability and based on your individual factors, because consistency and practice are keys.
There you go. There you have it. Phil, anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm just really grateful for Rudy and for you. And this was awesome. Thank you so much.
You got it. That was America's Favorite Pharmacist, brought to you by buyoptimizers.com. That was our newest and weekly contributor, Phil Calley. Phil is a pharmaceutical expert and an influencer. He goes by the handle Phil's My Pharmacist. And that was the awesome and incredible Rudy Bundini. And you can definitely check out Rudy on the gram at Rudy Bundini. You can also check him out at Rudy Bundini_real estate. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeart Radio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance. For more information or to order CO2 Lift, go to CO2Lift.com.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m. Or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/a moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're on YouTube Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Kathy Ireland's Your Home TV streaming platform. You could head directly to mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make this show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll see you next week.